Peace, peace, my peaceful people. It's your brother man say I knew. We are back with you with Into the I Ching, right? This is our series of reading from the Harlem River Arrangement by Judgement, Nefer, right? One of the foremost scholars, priests actually, let me say it like that, foremost priests of the I Ching, right? So, yeah, I've said many things on that subject, right? So I won't, continue to bore y'all, right? But yeah, this is the piece of work that we're dealing with. Harlem River Arrangement, right? A very, very insightful series of lectures on the I Ching, right? That cross-reference into other metaphysical traditions and things like this, because this is what, Judgement, Nefer is, kind of known for, right? Having a great depth of understanding on the cross-sectioning of metaphysics, right? Where metaphysics in the East meets metaphysics in the West or the South, and the various traditions, how they link up. So this is a very insightful talk on the I Ching, right? So we're doing this because of that reason. All right, so all that said, we're going to go right into the next one, right? So we are at hexagram number 5, right? This is the hexagram of waiting, okay? So we're going to read the, kind of the introductory material, and then we're going to get into the hexagram, right? All right, here we go. How many of you went home and studied the complements of hexagrams 3 and 4? The complement of the third hexagram is the 50th hexagram. If you get the third hexagram, you are told that you are having difficulties at the beginning. In order that you may not have difficulties in the middle and at the end, you need spiritual assistance. That's the complement, right? Talking about the 50. The 50 is all about spiritual assistance, okay? The fourth hexagram is complemented by the 49, revolution. I will not deal with the 49th hexagram right now because I want to deal with the 5th, 6th, and 7th, and 8th because they have much in common. As a matter of fact, hexagrams 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 have much in common. In actuality, they do not follow the actual sequence of the hexagrams. The sequence of the hexagrams as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. is not the actual progression of the forces. Right? For instance, in the natural progression of forces, the 44th hexagram follows the first hexagram, moving from the south to the southwest. The 23rd hexagram is the last hexagram before we get to the north, to Kun, the second hexagram. So actually, the first and the second hexagrams are diagonally opposite each other, 180 degrees away from each other. The authors of the I Ching, said that the first hexagram was the father and the second hexagram the mother. Hexagrams 3 through 8 are the children. 3, difficulty at the beginning. 4, youthful folly. 5, waiting until you are nourished. 6, conflict because you are ignorant but believe sincerely that you are correct, and there are some who are cunning. So therefore, we come to 7, the army. It says, look, you are not ready to discipline yourself. I'm sorry. Look, you are not ready. Discipline yourself. Right? So he just broke down, the themes or the hexagrams, right? And how they, meet the kind of a family structure, where what we're dealing with now are the youthful kind of hexagrams, right? We're dealing with these circumstances of life that tend to point to our immaturities, all right? All right, a discipline is one who realizes that if I eat in moderation, it will be good for my spiritual growth. If I do things in moderation, if I do that which is correct, it is for my own benefit. The immature person says, I love this, I got to have this. The immature person is not ready to discipline him or herself. Therefore, discipline must be imposed. Do it as ordered by the sergeant. The 7th hexagram is the military-like discipline, where the younger must submit and yield to the older one in rank or order or age or whatever. The 7th hexagram is imposed discipline. 8, union, meaning 8th hexagram. Union is people who come together but need guidance from a wiser person. The union of the 8th hexagram is one that requires guidance from an older, wiser, impartial person. So now we have the youthful ones, right? Then we come to the 9th, which is like the adolescent. That must be restrained through the gentle wind. The adolescent that must be restrained through the gentle wind. The gentle wind is instruction, the restraint of yang force. The youthful person has not yet had the lesson of sobriety. You know, when you are young, you think you can conquer everybody, and then life dishes you a couple slaps, and you find that you are not the only one in this world who has your thing together. The other folks out there that have their thing together in the world, and the world is not just a simple walkover. You are told to restrain that yang force with gentle wind. Then comes the 10th hexagram. Watch your conduct. I just wanted to give you an overview. Now let's go to the 5th hexagram. Whenever you get a hexagram straight up, no stressed lines, the Wilhelm book is generally better than the astrology of the I Ching by Chu and Sherrill. Still, you ought to read both books. So all through this hexagram, he's basically referring to these two texts, the Wilhelm and Bain's I Ching Book of Changes and the Chu and Sherrill Astrology of the I Ching, which are both in their own right very good interpretations of the material, right? Because of certain inexperience of scholars versus priests dealing with this material, he has decided to make various corrections in the text. All right, so this is what we get here in this lecture. Okay. Right, still, you ought to read both books. Take note that whenever you get a hexagram straight up, you ought to also read the governing lines of the hexagram, especially the major governing line, which is usually the 5th line, unless the oracle tells you otherwise. Okay? You will not treat it as if it is a stressed line. A stressed line means that this line pertains more specifically to your reading. But when you get a hexagram straight up, you will read the governing line, not as if it pertains to you, but because it is the embodiment of the positive, unless it says otherwise, manifestation of the hexagram. Okay. The 5th hexagram, Su, right? H-S-U, Su, which if you add it to Ang, or I'm sorry, which if you add an NG to it, is one of the Taoist magical sounds, one of the 5 magical sounds that nourishes the stomach channel. Okay, let me read that again. The fifth hexagram, Su, which if you added NG to it, is one of the Taoist 5 magical sounds that nourish the stomach channel. Su with the NG becomes the mantra that activates the energies flowing through the stomach channel. This is why I read this book, right? This is why this is why we're here, right? This type of information here. Right? This is the occult information that you're not going to get from everywhere, okay? If you want more information, you check the Lu Kuan Yu's Taoist Yoga, right? It is a hard book to understand, not because the subject is very difficult, but because he wrote it in a very confused state. But it all is there, okay? All right. Waiting, nourishment. When you get the 5th line, whatever it is that you are asking to do, the oracles is telling you that you have to wait. You are not ready yet to do what you are inquiring about. You must nourish yourself physically and mentally while waiting while you nourish. Many people, when they get this hexagram, they just say, wait. That is not idle waiting. The reasons why you are the reasons you are waiting is that you want to happen. The oracle says is that what you want to happen. The oracle says it will not come of itself. It is something that must come from heaven. It is something that has to come through the divine process, such as waiting for healing to take place, waiting for understanding to take place, waiting for some improvement within your being to take place. All beings, okay, now I think we're going to the text. All beings have a need of nourishment from above, but the gift of food comes of its own time, and for this one must wait. Back to Shagma. What you are waiting for is something that the spirits must give you. Again, as I said to you, the author of this version of the I Ching leaves off the juju part of it, the spiritual ritualizing part of it. If what you are waiting for must come from heaven, then the nourishment is just not simply eating, which you must do, but also performing the rituals and wait. We know that the African teaches that the magic of the Supreme Being need not manifest itself in one day. Even the Bible starts off that God makes the world in 7 days or in 6 stages and rests in the 7th day. So everything must go through the 6 stages of manifestations. Here you are told to nourish and wait. There are many, many counsels here. The last sentence here says, strength, and back to the text, strength in the face of danger does not plunge ahead but bides its time, whereas weakness in the face of danger grows agitated and has not the patience to wait. Here the I Ching gives you the other kinds of related counsel. People who become agitated and impatient are revealing their weakness. Not being able to wait for something to take place is a sign of weakness. Back to the text. Judgment, waiting. If you are sincere, you have light and success. Okay? The judgment, waiting. If you are sincere, you have light and success. Perseverance brings good fortune. It furthers one to cross the great water. Back to Shechem. If you are sincere, in parentheses, meaning that sincerity is what you want. Sincerity in what you want is very important. Sincerity is, in this case, means that you are willing to forego the difficulties patiently in waiting for whatever you want to come to you. Here, the Taoist philosophy defines sincerity in a whole different way than Westerners do, meaning if you cannot wait patiently in that which heaven has proclaimed to you, you are not sincere in what you want. It furthers one to cross the great water. Crossing the great water in the I Ching is a symbol of any undertaking that requires a great deal of effort. Any major enterprise is crossing the great water. Back to the text. Waiting is not mere empty hoping. It is the inner certainty of reaching the goal. It has the inner certainty of reaching the goal. If you are going to wait for something, it is because you have the faith that you will get what you want. This is back to second. But don't forget that you are performing rituals. Faith is the whole different situation in an African perspective, because in Ifa divination, as well as in the Oracle of Tehuti, every time one does a ritual, one has to repledge oneself, such as offering a sacrifice. Meaning that, yes, I have faith that the deities will come for me, so I go to spend some money and on some articles of the offering. Because if you do not have faith in it, you will not spend. You will not make the commitment that this is the way of functioning will get you what you want. One is faced with a danger that has to be overcome. There are times when that is the text, right? The text says, I have to go back and forth from the text to Shekum, and I keep forgetting to let y'all know what I'm doing. All right, so back to the text. One is faced with a danger that has to be overcome. Back to Shekum. There are times when the oracles will tell you, look, you can't overcome this danger, retreat, return. Whenever you get this fifth hexagram, whatever difficulties that you are encountering, you have to overcome it. But not now. Where you are right now, you must be preparing to overcome that danger. You are not ready yet to do it. But you must not run away from it, but not be patient. But do not be impatient. But do not be impatient. That is weakness. Read the rest of the judgment and go to the image. We should not worry and seek to shape the future by interfering in things before the time is right. That's the text. Back to the text, right? We should not worry and seek to shape the future by interfering in things before the time is right. Back to Shekum. What the author should have said here, since we are dealing in a situation where divine assistance is what is at work, you are not going to achieve anything by trying to manipulate it with your own brain. Meaning, you do a ritual, you get a specific hexagram. What you want must come through the ritual. Whether it is just simply having faith in what you want to do, or whether it is very sophisticated ritual with offerings and incantations or whatever. But then do not interfere with your own brain, your own knowledge of things here and things there. People say, oh, well, it has been 2 months and it should already have happened. That is kind of interference. That is the kind of interference that you can give. Right? You say, I've been working on this for 2 years, as if you know the timetable of things. So if you get the hexagram 5, or the 5th hexagram, know that what you are asking about is coming. It is on its way. Just keep nurturing. Keep working as if it is coming. Let's say that you've been working on a ritual for 5 years now, and you say, well, it has been 5 years now. Should I continue with this or shouldn't I? How is this coming along? You get the 5th hexagram. The oracle is telling you that it is coming. The difficulties will be overcome. Just keep at it. Elsewhere, the oracles will tell you that you are engaging in empty imaginings. Forget it. It is not going to happen. Right? That's what I love about the I Ching. Like, the I Ching is not always going to say something that's so fluffy and great and nice along with your ideology. You know what I mean? Oftentimes you're going to want to go, but the oracle is going to say yes, go, or no, don't go. Right? So, this is where, this is about, like, the oracle speaks the truth. It keeps it real. It keeps it real according to the circumstance. You know what I mean? So not always is this a situation where, waiting is just something that you must do with faith and persistence. Sometimes you must just cut and go. Cut your losses and get out of there, because it ain't going to happen. Right? All right. Going to line 1. Line 1 reads, and I believe this is the Wilhelm and Baines, although it doesn't say it, right? First line, waiting in the meadow. It furthers one to abide in what endures, no blame. The danger is not yet close. One is still waiting on the open plain. Conditions are still simple, yet there is a feeling of something impending. One must continue to lead a regular life as long as possible. Only in this way does one guard against premature waste of strength. Keep free of blame and error that would become a source of weakness later on. Back to Shekum. That is very clear. It is saying here, are these truth burps or just me gassing? I don't know. I didn't eat anything yet, so That is very clear. One is saying here that things are shaping up. Do nothing different from what you've been doing. Let's say you see something about to happen, and you get this first line. Then you're being told to do nothing different from what you're doing. Just continue in what you are doing and try your best to avoid making mistakes. Okay, so that's simple. I mean, just, you get the first line, it's just saying, wait, keep doing what you're doing. Everything's coming, just wait. At the second line, reading from the text, waiting on the sand, there is some gossip. The end brings good fortune. The danger gradually comes closer. Sand is near the bank of the river, and the water means danger. Disagreements crop up. General unrest can easily develop in such times, and we lay the blame on one another. He who stays calm will succeed in making things go well in the end. Slander will be silenced if we do not gratify it with injured retorts. Back to Shechem. In this particular line, someone is or may slander someone else. Let's go back to the last sentence in the judgment. Back to the text. Weakness and impatience can do nothing. Only a strong man can stand up to his fate, for his inner security enables him to endure the end, to the end, right? This strength shows itself in uncompromising truthfulness with himself, in parentheses. It is only when we have the courage to face things exactly as they are, without any sort of self-deception or illusion, that a light will develop out of events by which the path to success will be recognized. Back to Shechem. When you get the fifth line, one of the things that usually is at work is self-deception, illusions, wrong thinking, because proper light on the subject has not yet come forth. Here the key, the nurturing, is the truth about oneself. Okay? Here the key, the nurturing here, is with the truth about oneself. Don't forget that we are dealing with those youthful hexagrams, or one of those youthful hexagrams, or with something that is not ripe for its time here, or not its time period here. Illusion and self-deception is at work. All right, so yeah, this is very insightful. This is very insightful stuff, It's talking about, the way that we think is the reason why we need to wait now at this line, The way that we're thinking has levels of delusion within it, right? Levels of, being deluded, right? Our ideas are young, immature, right? So it's about waiting, right? The second line of the fifth hexagram is a situation in which disagreements begin to crop up because of a state of general unrest. But the key is to remain calm, not running away from the situation or whatever, but remaining calm. Okay. Going to the third line. Third line, waiting in the mud brings about the arrival of the enemy. Mud is no place for waiting. Since it is already being washed by the water of the stream, instead of having gathered strength to cross the stream in one try, one has made a premature start that has got him no further than the muddy bank. Such an unfavorable position invites enemies from without, who naturally take advantage of it. Caution and a sense of seriousness of the situation are all that can keep one from injury. Okay. All right, so back to Shechem. There is a line here that will mislead you. It says, such an unfavorable position invites enemies from without. Let's say that you are having difficulties with somebody on your job and you draw this line. You say that person is the enemy. Then there is difficulties. Time to go to Chu and Sherelle. It is very important to have the proper comprehension of the oracles. All right, so he goes to line 3 on Chu and Sherelle. This is the text. Line 3, waiting in the mud next to a stream invites the approach of injury and evil. The persons symbolized here are similar to those born under line 2, but not so wise or clever. They want to be daring and accomplish major enterprises, I think that's such as crossing the great water. But while waiting, they are standing in the mud. Anyone doing so will be limited in speed with which he can take action and directions in which he can move. Back to Shekem. Here, the difficulties comes from where you are. You went too far into something. It is not an enemy that you are dealing with. You are the one who went too far into the situation. Interesting. Yep. Okay. You went a bit too far into the situation. God knows how many times I've had to sit down with two combatants who have brought the I Ching. You see, the oracle says that my mate is my enemy. No, it says here, back to the text, anyone doing so will be limited in the speed with which they can take action and the directions which he can move. An enemy can easily catch him or catch and harm one so mired. Okay, back to Shekem. That is just simply the symbolism. Somebody has gone too far into something. The symbolism is a person standing in the mud where you can't maneuver so easily, so the enemy can then catch you. Meaning the difficulties are because you have gone too far into something that you were not prepared for. You cannot maneuver so well anymore. Therefore, the difficulties will swamp you. But it is you who went too far before your time in the situation. So I hope y'all don't mind. I have a little funny example of this. You know, I once got into a debate with an individual who we were debating over, I Ching and stuff like that, right? And this individual kind of came at me, right? They had an argument with something that I was talking about, and they stated one of the hexagrams that they received. If I'm not mistaken, this is how it went. They had this particular line, and what it was saying was that that person went too far, that I'm not an enemy, but in that circumstance, this person was coming against me, so they kind of made me their target. And, I basically had, a strong comeback for what they were talking about, So what had happened was they went too far before they were ready, right? Before they had considered it more, right? If they had considered it more, then they probably wouldn't have, taken that position in the conflict that they chose to have. But this line came up. This was the exact line that came up. It was like, yeah, it was exactly that. The person just went too far. They shouldn't have went there, but they went there. And, I gave it to them. I basically, used the text to, rectify the situation. All right, back to the text, right? All right, so the text says, this is most evident in the animal kingdom where predators stalk their prey at watering places. Back to Shekem. This is where the symbolism came from. One is waiting in the mud. The gazelle, the animals at the watering hole, etc. That is a symbol. But the enemies here are the things that will go wrong in your life because you went too far when you weren't ready. You should have waited, but you went too far. All right, back to the text. Hence, these persons are not wise and knowledgeable as they ought to be for the things that they're trying to accomplish. Back to Shekem. True and Sherelle puts the blame on the person who asked about himself. The person who inquired is the person that is at blame in the situation, not some enemy. So here Wilhelm misleads you. He says such an unfavorable position invites enemies from without. The third line in the Wilhelm must be qualified. I would cross that out and say see True and Sherelle for this line. All right. So there you go. All right. So back to the text. Fourth line, Wilhelm, waiting in blood. I'm reading from the Wilhelm book still. Waiting in blood, get out of the pit. Back to Shechem Shechem. When you get this line, there is no need for you to throw your hands on your head and come running to Shechem Shechem saying someone is waiting for you with a knife. There is no need for that. Back to the text. The situation is extremely dangerous. Okay, little typo. Back to Shechem Shechem. In regards to the matter inquired about. Back to the text. A matter of life and death. Bloodshed seems imminent. There is no going forward or backward. We are cut off as if in a pit. Now we must simply stand fast and let fate take its course. This composure, which keeps us from aggravating the trouble by anything we might do, is the only way of getting out of the dangerous pit. Back to Shechem. When you get this fourth line, you are in a situation where you cannot escape whatever the difficulty is forecasted for you. You see it coming. The line means you cannot stop it. But there is a way of minimizing the damage. Keep still. Stay in the situation. Don't try to get out of it. Don't try to manipulate it. Remain calm. Let fate take its course. Because either way, if you try to manipulate it, to change it, to stop it, to get out of the situation, you just aggravate the whole thing by whatever you do. All right, so that's pretty simple. This is not the line that says to, do anything, weird. You know what I mean? Just wait in peace, right? Wait in peace. Can't do anything about this at the fourth line. All right, fifth line. Waiting at meat and drink. Perseverance brings good fortune. This is the text. Even in the midst of danger, there come intervals of peace when things go relatively well. Back to Shechem. When you get this line, it means that you treat this as just an interval. Let's say you asked on the state of your health because now you're feeling better. But this is just an interval between feeling bad. The illness is still there. The oracle says enjoy it, re-strengthen yourself, renew yourself. All right, there's another meaning in the second paragraph where it speaks about public life. It is important to give you vacations in time to rest when you are working. This speaks of intervals of peace and rest and relaxation or freedom from whatever is ailing you. If you are involved in any kind of struggle, that line 5 is telling you that you ought to take time off to rest. You have to give yourself intervals, or if it comes by, run it back. I'm messing up. That's me, y'all. I'm messing up. You know what I mean? Let's not blame something else, right? I sometimes be tripping when people be blaming, oh, I said that because of this. No, you didn't. You just messed up. All right, so I messed up. All right. If you are involved in any kind of struggle at line 5, it's telling you that you ought to take some time off to rest. You have to give yourself intervals. Or if it comes, enjoy it. Some people do not know that to enjoy something because the problem has not been ended altogether. You say, I know tomorrow the struggle will be on me again, so I can enjoy today. That's what we are talking about. All right, so line 5 is basically, it's just, many times you get line 5 and it just simply is reinforcing the idea of wait in the hexagram. Nah, just wait. Nah, just wait. Be at peace, just wait. Yeah. So, yeah. There's a lot of words on it, but yeah, it's basically a line 5. It's just the general idea of the hexagram, which is, hey, wait, don't do it. Just wait. Yeah. Line 6. One falls into the pit. 3 uninvited guests arrives. Honor them. In the end, there will be good fortune. Back to Shechem. Here you are waiting and things are about to fall apart. Everything just seems to have collapsed, especially that which seems to drive the nails into the coffin has turned out to be that which has come to help you. All right. It is the silver lining in the cloud. When you get this top line, it is saying to you that at the very point where things seem to be hopeless, be on the lookout, pay attention, something will be there to help you. And that something will seem to be something that is trying to take things away from you or put nails in the coffin. Okay, that is the guidance of this top line. Let's go to Chu and Sherelle. Chu and Sherelle says that these three unexpected guests might be persons or ideas or other kind of situation. He asks himself if they are friends or enemies, so pay attention to that. All right, and that's the last thing. It goes right into Hexagram 6, which we won't go into right now. Right, so just to restate it, line 6 is a circumstance in which it looks like whatever the circumstance is coming or you're involved in, it looks detrimental. It looks like it's something that's going to harm you or harm the situation. But if it is line 6, then that thing that we're talking about is actually something that's going to help you. So it's just something that looks deceiving. Wait, and you'll see how this will be something that comes to benefit you. All right, so let's quickly run into the I Ching Praxis, right, to see what Shechem further breaks down. Right, so so the lectures here are Shechem talking through the hexagrams, right? He's talking it out in sentences. So here, he's written it down, right? He's written down and composed the ideas that he wants to compose. So it comes out the way it comes out here. Okay, so for line 5 in the Praxis, here you go. Su, hexagram 5 is composed of Kan above and Chien below. Kan, as we have learned, corresponds to the lack of experience, ignorance, wrong ideas, etc. Not much can be accomplished in life unless Kan is transcended. So that even though one may possess the strength represented by Chien to persevere through impediments and the accomplishment of one's goals, you are here advised to wait and nourish with truth. Instead, you must use the strength to hold back. Wait to prevent or bear with the adversity which has its roots in your deficiencies. Kan. Success is assured if this is done. Okay? That's basically the general idea. I'm not going to read all of the text, right? Because there's much more. Right? We'll go straight to the lines, right? Line 1. We are at a point where there is a sense of impending adversity. It is important to keep as far as possible away from the danger. It is best to delay your plans and work on acquiring truth, knowledge of your true self and the goals you are endeavoring to achieve. Okay? So that's simple. It's very much like line 5 where it says, just waiting, right? Well, only this one is like keep away from the danger while you wait, right? Obviously, there's some element of danger or unknown in the situation. So it's just saying, just do what you're doing, be at peace and wait. Line 2. One is at the very beginning of the manifestation of adversity. The correct reaction is to take an in-between position, to straddle the fence, not too far or too close to the danger. Even if one incurs criticism, you need to be able to retreat if need be, or to go forward and seize the opportunity if it presents itself. It is best to remain silent and peaceful in the face of criticism and disagreements. The situation will right itself in the end as the peace and holding back will give you the ability and opportunity to see things clearly. Kan changing into Li. Okay? Okay, so that's that pretty much. No need to go into that. Line 3. One is not in harmony with the counsel of the hexagram and has acted prematurely. Parentheses, acting with strength without proper knowledge. Kan Chien. Kan slash Chen. Acting with strength without proper knowledge, right? Leaping without looking, that type of thing. To resolve the problem or to accomplish one's goal. Okay. As a result, things have gotten muddy, and one now is at a disadvantage regarding to an opponent. You have brought troubles onto yourself. Okay, so he kind of uses both what he said in Wilhelm, what Wilhelm was saying, right? As a result, things have gotten muddy, and now is at a disadvantage regarding the opponent, right? But then he also says what Chu and Sherelle said, which is you have brought the troubles onto yourself. Okay, so there is some aspect that Shechem here is acknowledging is an opponent at line 3. Okay, some this could be an opponent. Like in my situation, the situation that I exampled, this was a person who was an opponent. Who came at me, right? And they basically went too far, and that's that's when I came back with my rebuttal or whatever. All right, so line 4. The adverse situation has reached the worst possible point and cannot be reversed. Holding firm to the spiritual law that this hexagram represents is the only way of getting out of the difficulty or of ameliorating the disaster. Focus on getting out of the difficulty and not on achieving your goal. Perseverance through meditation. Above all, avoid laying blame on others in confrontations, which will only make matters worse. You may have to just let fate take its course, unless your meditations can alter the situation. All right? Waiting in the pit, right? Yeah. All right, so y'all get that. Line 5. When this line is stressed, we are advised to set aside times for recreation and enjoyment, or to take advantage of such moments when they present themselves. Such times must be employed in meditations aimed at achieving success, which is assured through the cultivation of sincerity, peace, and joy. Sincerity is adherence to the truth within and without. There are people that act appropriately in situations and with others outwardly put on a facade, but harbor ill thoughts and feelings. This is insincerity. All right, so yeah, basically we're talking about waiting, right? This is the main line in the hexagram, the main line that deals with the theme of the hexagram, right? Right. So, but in addition, it says sincerity in adherence to truth within and without. Okay, so this is this is waiting, but you're sincere. You're being sincere in the circumstance, right? Waiting in truth. All right, line 6. It is not uncommon for the resolution of adverse situations to occur through a crisis that involves a seemingly strange turn of events. At first, it seems that waiting in peace and joy was in vain, or an ineffective strategy. Yet if one holds firm, the event is followed by an intrusion that cannot be clearly recognized as being helpful, and may even be seen as a threat. All of this conforms to the law. It is a part of the spiritual test. Holding on to peace and joy will eventually show that the outside intervention was the helping hand needed to get out of the difficulty. Welcome the help that presents itself at this point. It is divine intervention. All right, so yeah. This is, again, when, it looks like the situation is dire. It looks like, something happened that, is going to mess things all the way up. If this line is on the table, Not in the other circumstances, right? If, many times if it looks like it's going to go south and this is not on the table, then it's probably going to go south. So, just make sure that this is on the table before, dealing with it like, oh, don't worry about it. I'll have faith. It's all good. Yeah. So that's it, folks. That is this edition of Into the I Ching. Right? Next week, we will deal with Hexagram 6, Conflict. All right? So until then, be at peace and have love. And we're going to do it again next time. Peace.